Happy Thursday. We got a small 8-game slate. Let's talk some seam. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back in to another episode for Just a Bet Outside. I am your host, Steven, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. If we did this recording a couple hours ago, I would be absolutely livid. Yesterday was a frustrating 2 and 3 day, probably top 3 worst beat of the year on one of our bets to have a winning, profitable day. We'll go over the recap in just a little bit, but you have to be mentally tough or just absolutely insane to be betting baseball every single day. I'm going to just call myself mentally tough, but it is incredibly hard, guys. You see cappers and people all over the place, explain it. Baseball is a very unpredictable sport. I am still confident we're going to go on a hot streak, but we got to catch a few breaks along the way, and I think we'll get there. But again, a small losing day. I'm going to keep grinding. Some days it's hard, and I need a mental break, but you know what? I'm going to keep grinding away for you guys. So we got a smaller 8-game slate, but before we get into that, of course, any graphics you see in this video are from an app called OUTLIER, the best betting research tool on the market today. Click that link below, you get a 7-day free trial. So let's get into it. I got a very current MLB fun fact. This was going into Monday, or going into Wednesday. Does not count the Wednesday games, but this is wild. The Rockies have more triples than wins this season. 21 triples to 12 wins going into Wednesday. That is insane. In fact, this is the crazier stat. You know, the Rockies lead the league by 6 in the triples department. It doesn't even make sense. Anyways, in this video, we're going to recap yesterday, and then we're going to go over the good and bad hitter matchups. And then, of course, it's Thursday, so we're going to talk who's on fire, hitters on fire in the last 7 days. And then we're going to give you the best pitcher strikeout matchups, the entire pitcher report, and then we'll finish it with those best bets and the recap. So you guys know what to do. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment below to help this channel continue to grow. If you're new to the channel, come join this awesome community. Hit that subscribe button, and we are off and rolling. Let's get it rolling, and that means it's recap time. All right, here it is, the recap. Over 9, Seattle, Arizona. I think we had 3 innings with the leadoff double, and they didn't score. I don't know what else to say. The Seattle Mariners absolutely sucked. They are the offense I have seen for the last 30-plus years again. Just terrible. There was chances. Let me just tell you. They scored. It was 5-2, 7 runs scored thanks to 1 grand slam. Other than that, there was just not any big hits with guys on base. Casey Mize under 16.5 outs recorded was absolutely sweaty. He had some luck. Baltimore was swinging early and often, but yet he still ended on 16 hits. Shout out to Ramon Laureano. After 16 outs, he gets a base hit, and that gets Mize out of the game. Patrick, over 4.5 Ks. We started this morning with a great easy winner. He had 8 Ks. Everything was great. It was dandy. I was happy. And then the evening games hit. Sean freaking Burke. What a terrible read. He was horrendous. The worst start of his year by far. I mean, he was getting crushed. He was walking guys. Not even close. Bad read there. But here we go. This is it, guys. This is what keeps me up at night. Over 7 A's and Angels. This is an alternate line or alternate total parlay. That one cashes 6-5. They score 11. We go to the over 7.5 Rays in Boston. Guess what the score is after 5 innings? I don't know what the exact score was. I do know it was 7 runs. Well, it's 4-3 Boston after 5 innings. That means I have now 4 more full innings to get 1 flipping run, and they don't do it. We have a bases loaded opportunity. They don't get the job done. First and second, 1 out. The guy tries to steal third, Caballero, to get thrown out. What are you doing with 1 out? And then after that, the Red Sox in the bottom of the 8th, the guy on third, 1 out, and Trevor Story doesn't get it done. 5 home runs, 7 runs in the first 5 innings, and they end on 7. This is not me complaining. This is me angry. It really pissed me off because I thought we were having a winning day. I put a lot of hours into this, so when we have a losing day, it is frustrating. But again, a long season, not even to the All-Star break yet, so I am determined to turn this sucker around. Down 6.69 units on the year, and also there's all the breakdown: pitcher, hitter props, nerfies, RBIs, whatever it is, just so you guys have an idea what I've been good or not good at. So that's what we got for the recap. Now let's talk the hitter matchups. All right, I lied. Before we get to those hitter matchups, I made this beautiful little slide of crazy things we saw in the MLB just to show how unpredictable this is. Maybe this makes you feel better. Maybe it makes you not want to bet baseball. I'm not sure. But Chris Bubich, lowest ERA in the league, gave up 5 earned runs with 4 walks today. 5 home runs, 7 runs scored in the first 5 innings. We already talked about that in Rays in Boston. Tigers-Orioles game looked like an easy under. I didn't bet this, but if you had the under, it had 4 runs heading to the bottom of the 8th. Then the Orioles score 7 runs. Guardians scored 1 run off a lefty in 36 innings in May. They scored 6 off lefty Nick Lodolo today. Robbie Ray, one of the best pitchers in the majors, gets crushed by the Rockies. And then Jesus Luzardo went from giving up 20 earned runs with only 6 strikeouts. in his last 2 starts. That's right, 20 runs in 5.2 innings to giving up 1 earned run and striking out 10 Chicago Cubs. Just want to point that out. Wild things we saw around the league. But that's what we got. Now, let's talk some hitter matchups. All right, we got 13 good hitter matchups for you today. Gleyber Torres starts us out, 8 for 26. It's decent off of Dean Kramer. You got Goldie there, 8 for 14 with a couple bombs off Seth Lugo. Great matchup for him there. Marcus Semien, 7 for 13 with a couple bombs off Uber Driver. And then we got LeMahieu, 6 for 13. Pete Alonso, 4 for 12. Yastrzemski, you see down there. And then over there on the right side, Austin Slater, 6 for 12. Someone everyone wants to bet, obviously. Juan Soto, 6 for 10 with a couple bombs off of Mike Soroka. That is a very good matchup for him. And then Contreras, and we end with Triolo of the Pirates. So take a screenshot. That's what we got for the good hitter matchups. Now let's talk the bad hitter matchups. We got 6, couple big names. Ramon Laureano, the guy who saved our Casey Mize bet. He is up there. But Kyle Tucker, 1 for 14, but only 1 strikeout off Andrew Heaney. Obviously, lefty-lefty matchup there. And then this one's weird. How about Aaron Judge, 1 for 11 with 5 Ks off Seth Lugo? Will that matter this year? Probably not. But I want to point that out. O'Neal Cruz, a guy who I think is overrated. He can hit some very, very long fly balls. But other than that, he chases a lot of pitches. I don't need to go on that rant. But either way, 0 for 11, 4 Ks versus Jameson Taillon. And then Sal Frelick, 0 for 10 with 3 Ks versus Sonny Gray. So that's what we got for the good and bad hitter matchups. Now let's talk who's on fire. All right, here are the hitters on fire in the last 7 days. If you're new to the channel, we do this once a week just to give you even more info to help you guys out with hitter props or whatever it is. You have to have a minimum of 20 at-bats, and you have to be hitting 340 or higher to make this list. Alejandro Kirk around there in the middle, 519 average, 2 bombs, and 7 ribbies. Speaking of ribbies, how about Wilson Contreras of the Cardinals up there with 11 RBIs on 2 home runs? And then you keep going down the list. Acuna starting to hit the ball well now, 370. Alec Thomas, 385. And then we got Vinny Pasquantino is swinging it, 480 with 5 RBIs in the last 7 days. And there's all the rest of the guys. Again, hopefully this helps you out, whether it's RBI props, hitter props, bases. But that's what we got for the first page. Now let's check out page 2. Trevor Story, and then the guy who ruined one of our bets, also 391. But we got Pete Alonso, 409 with 9 ribbies. Just continues to have an incredible season. Josh Naylor and Jacob Wilson, the rookie for the A's, who is hurt, but both hitting 455. Aaron Judge, 474 with 8 ribbies. No surprise there. He is just a man on a mission this year. But anyways, that's what we got for the 2 pages for who's on fire. And now let's talk some strikeouts. All right, I only got 1 good pitcher strikeout matchup for you. And it's not even a great one based on the White Sox, but we'll talk about the lefty, Framber Valdez versus Chicago. The White Sox 13th highest K rate versus lefties, but still 23.4%. And then Valdez, 84 Ks in 85 innings. So again, it's a decent matchup, but he does have 7+ Ks in 5 of his last 6 starts now. But he does also have a lower K rate at home, 22.9 compared to 27% on the road. So again, this is a very borderline one. But higher K rate versus lefties, 28% versus righties, it's 24.6%. He faced the White Sox on May 2nd. He had 6 Ks in 5 innings. Now, that's only good pitcher strikeout. In case you're wondering on some other high strikeout pitchers today, why they didn't make it. Sonny Gray facing the Brewers. Brewers, 9th lowest K rate versus righties in the last 3 weeks, 20.7%. And then Tariq Skubal, the man. Orioles have now the 7th lowest K rate versus lefties. Last 3 weeks, they've been getting healthier and starting to not swing and miss as much, only 20.9%. And then the righty for the Yankees, Will Warren at the Royals. Royals, 2nd lowest K rate versus versus righties last 3 weeks. They just do not swing and miss very often, even though they're not a great offense. So that's why Will Warren did not make the good pitcher strikeout matchup. So that's what we got for Ks. Now let's take a look at the pitcher report. All right, we start out with Tariq Skubal. That's right, the man. He is going up against Dean Kramer. Skubal, he's very good at throwing the baseball, if you don't know that. 0 earned runs allowed in his last 23.2 innings with 26 strikeouts. He is incredibly good. Dean Kramer of the Orioles, roughed up in his last start with 8 hits and 5 earned runs allowed in 5.1 innings versus the A's. And just a heads up, home runs per 9 is on this list now in case you're looking at it. And of course, we got expected ERA, K rate, walk rate with all the averages on the bottom. But Soroka going up against Senga. Soroka coming off his best start of the year. 2 hits, 0 earned runs in 6 innings versus Texas. You know, he's been decent. His K rate's up higher than it used to be, around a 4 ERA, which is pretty good for him. And then Kodai Senga, 1.59 ERA, giving up 2 or less earned runs in 11 of 12 starts this season. And then we got Patrick Corbin going up against Bailey Uber Driver. Uber Driver got lost his last outing, giving up 5 earned runs in 7 innings versus Toronto. Corbin, I'm saying this out loud and it feels weird. He's allowed 3 or less earned runs in all 11 starts this year. Wild. And then the Song of Birds versus Senzatella. Well, the Birds, he's been decent since joining the rotation. Last start was brutal, though. He had 5 walks in 4.1 innings. We had a bet on that game, and he killed it. Senzatella, we know they're actually he's batting practice. We call him batting practice. 14.7 hits per 9 is insane. They aren't letting him go as deep into games anymore, though. Finally gave up less than 6 hits last time because of that. That's right, less than 6 hits for the first time all year. Will Warren versus Seth Lugo. Warren's struggling lately. 13 total earned runs given up in his last 3 starts over 10.2 innings. Lugo's been pretty decent. Good pitcher at home as well. Expected ERA is near 5. Doesn't miss a ton of bats, obviously. And then Sonny Gray, who's been on a roll, pitched 13.1 consecutive scoreless innings versus Texas and the Dodgers, going up against Miziarowski, I believe is how you pronounce it. I picked him up in fantasy. You guys don't care, but I just want to tell you that because he's a top prospect for Milwaukee. Now, he's a guy who is known for having more of a 2-pitch mix. I think it's slider with fastball, but he throws gas. I mean, he hit 103 on the radar in the minor leagues. As long as his problem is his command. Sometimes he walks some guys, but other than that, he throws absolute gas from what I read about it. He had a 2.13 ERA and 80 Ks in 63.1 innings in AAA, just to kind of give you an idea. And of course, sometimes his advantage rookie because it's their first time, as long as they're not walking everybody. But anyways, Andrew Heaney versus Jamison Taillon. Heaney giving up 2 or less earned runs in 5 of his last 6 starts. Going up against Taillon, 4 good starts in a row, giving up 2 or less earned runs in each of them. But it was against the Marlins, Rockies, Reds, and Tigers. And then we end it with Davis Martin versus Framber Valdez. Davis Martin, how about a quality start in 4 of his last 5 now? And Valdez giving up 2 or less earned runs in 5 of his last 6 starts. Been absolutely solid again. So that's what we got for the entire pitcher report. And now it's time for the best bets. All right, this first one takes us out to Camden Yards where the Orioles host the Detroit Tigers. Tigers on money line minus 186, Orioles money line plus 152 with a total of 8 runs. We're going chalk. Give me the Tigers minus 1.5 on the run line, minus 108 on DraftKings for a half unit. I know it's chalky, but let's talk about this one first. Let's talk Scooble versus this Orioles offense. Orioles in the last month versus lefties. I've told you all year they've struggled versus lefties. They've been a little bit better. 18th WRC plus though still in the last month. Decent average, but they really lack power. 8th lowest slugging, 4th lowest ISO power. If you're going to hit a bunch of singles, that's not going to do much against Tariq Skubal, that's for sure. But Orioles have faced 15 legitimate lefty starters, not including a couple openers. Only 2 of those 15 lefty starters gave up more than 2 earned runs against Baltimore. That's how tough it's been. And those 2, JP Sears and Sean Newcomb in like the first game of the year. Doesn't even count. Facing Skubal, as elite as it gets in the majors, in case you don't know. He's given up 1 earned run in his last 23.2 innings. A ridiculous 105 Ks in 83.1 innings. Here's one that is not talked about enough. Maybe the most insane stat of the year. He has 105 Ks to 7 walks. 7 walks is like another Wednesday for Jack Leiter and Yusei Kikuchi. That is just insane. Anyways, he faced the Orioles already earlier this year, pitched 6 innings, 4 hits, 0 earned runs. Typical Skubal start. He also struck out 11 in that one. So I almost went with the Orioles team total, like an alt line under 4.5 as a leg of an alt team total parlay. But instead, I just went with Tigers on the run line because on the other side is Dean Kramer versus the Tigers offense. Now, Tigers versus righties last 3 weeks. WRC plus wise, 6th highest WRC plus, but they're lacking some power versus righties, hence why their scoring's down a little bit. Bottom 5 slugging versus righties. They've been getting some hits, kind of like the Orioles, lacking some power. But oh my goodness, is this a much better matchup than it is for the Orioles? Dean Kramer, absolutely horrendous versus lefties. This season versus lefties, 331 average and a 550 slugging. I mean, it's a pretty decent sample size. That is a very high average against lefties. A 158 whip against lefties. Yes, Kramer has been better at home, no doubt about that, but this is a tough matchup. If you don't know about the Tigers lineup, Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, Colt Keith, Parker Meadows, Zach McKinstry, they are absolutely one of the most loaded offenses with lefties in the entire major leagues. I think the Tigers get to them here because of this matchup. They just looked awful last night, scoring 1 run. I think with Skubal on the mound, they'll get the job done. And of course, we got to talk about the bullpens briefly. Tigers bullpen in decent shape. Hannafy and Brisky are probably going to be unavailable. Will Vest, Tommy Canel, Holton should all be good to go. Again, I expect no more than 2 runs from Baltimore as we head to the later innings, and Skubal's always got a chance to go 7 innings, and we only need 2 innings of bullpen. Orioles bullpen, not great. Pretty rested, though. Nobody threw more than 9 pitches yesterday. Tigers have, in 9 of the last 12 wins, the Tigers have actually won. They've won by 2+ runs, so they know how to win by margin. Great matchup for Skubal and this Tigers offense. Give me the T-grade, minus 1.5 as my first best bet. All right, the second one takes us out to the land of the tiny beverages where the Minnesota Twins host the Texas Rangers. Twins moneyline minus 169, Rangers moneyline plus 138 with a total of 8.5 runs. My best bet is the under 5 runs in the first 5 innings at minus 120 on Bet365 for a half unit. Love getting the 5 here because obviously if you get 5 runs, it's a push. The only way you lose is 6 or more runs. You're welcome for the math. Now, 6 runs is a lot to get in the first 5 innings. First of all, the reason I like is the weather. High 60s, wind blowing in 8 to 10 miles an hour. It's not easy to hit in those cooler temperatures in Minnesota. And then you have the starting pitcher matchup. Patrick Corbin versus Bailey Obear. Maybe my first under I've ever bet with Patrick Corbin on the mound. But I've said it before about Corbin. He's limiting damage. He's never given up more than 3 earned runs in a start. That's what you love to see because you're obviously trying to avoid one of those blow-up starts. But in his 11 starts, by the way, the first 5 innings, the total has gone under 5 runs in 8 of those 11 Corbin starts. I think he does well enough here to limit them to 2 or less runs here in the first 5. And then we got Uber driver, Uber Eats, whatever you want to call him. We have not bet on him much this year, but he has been solid at home. That's what I love to see. 3.08 ERA and a 1.18 whip. He had a low 2.76 ERA in May overall. The only thing he didn't do right is the last start in June. The very first one in June, it was a rough one. He faced the red-hot Blue Jays lineup. He gave up 5 earned runs. Still went 7 innings, though, in that one. But before that Toronto start, he had given up exactly 1 earned run in 5 of the 6 home starts. I mean, he has been that good at home. I think he can contain this struggling, and I mean struggling, Rangers offense. Let's talk about these offenses real quick. Twins versus lefties last 3 weeks, average 15th WRC plus, but 12th lowest slugging, 8th lowest ISO power. Not much power from this lineup. And then the Rangers facing a righty in the last 3 weeks, awful is all I can say. 3rd worst WRC plus in the league, 5th lowest slugging, and 12th lowest ISO power. 10th highest K rate, 12th lowest walk rate. It's supposed to be the other way around. They do not do well on offense, in case you guys don't know. So overall, we got 2 average to below average offenses facing 2 decent starting pitchers that I think can limit some runs like they've been doing most of the year, especially Obear at home. Plus cooler temps, wind blowing in. That's what I got. Give me the under 5 runs in the first 5 innings as my second best bet. Now, we only got an 8-game slate. I'm not going to force a third bet out on an 8-game slate the night before, but more than likely will be at least one more added play in the pinned comments below on X and on Discord. But of course, we're not done because these have been actually on fire lately. Let's talk some hitters I like. All right, let's talk a couple hitters now, and I think these have actually been on fire. I wish I bet them, but I think they're like 4 or 5 or 5 of 5 for getting a hit. Some have gone over their HRs. But the first one, Goldie Goldschmidt. How do we not include him? You saw it earlier, 8 for 14 off Seth Lugo. And like I've said before, he crushes it on the road. How about a 383 average on the road this year? 1+ hit in an insane 20 of 22 road games. Going up against Lugo, who does pretty decent versus righties, but again, doesn't matter when you already have Goldie, 8 for 14 off him. Obviously not a tough pitcher for him to hit. And Lugo did struggle a bit in May, giving up a 267 average against. I'm just riding the hot road bat here in a good matchup. And the second one, Marcus Semien. We have not talked about him much other than that he's been bad all year. Well, guess what? He's finally starting to swing a little bit. 1+ hit in 8 of his last 10, 2+ hits in 5 of his last 10 games. You saw it earlier, 7 for 13 with 2 home runs off of Bailey Obear. Now, I know I got the under in that game, but I'm okay with Semien getting a single if you bet that. But not super great hitting conditions. Like I said, again, we're just riding the hot bat. He's starting to swing it. We know he's been a good hitter for most of his career. Now 1+ hit in 8 of his last 10. Good matchup for him. I like Semien as well. Obviously, there's some more hitters. Leave a comment below. Let me know some good hitters to target and let everyone else know as well. But that's what we got for the show for the Thursday slate. Before we get out of here, let's check out the recap. All right, there it is. The 2 best bets so far. Tigers -1.5 at -108, and the under 5 runs in the first 5 innings. Rangers and Twins at -120, both half-unit plays. Let's get back on track. Again, any added plays will be in the pinned comments below on X and on Discord. Thank you guys for watching. As always, really appreciate the support. Hopefully you guys have a great Thursday, and we'll talk to you soon.